All right, so today I'm gonna take you guys to a tank that has been struggling with brown algae for a long time. Now, we recently had to break this tank down and reset it up, and this is why. All right, so here's a tank from before, and it looks great from just when you first walk up. I mean, just if you didn't know any better, you look at this hammer core right there, you're like, oh, you know, this tank looks pretty good. Mushrooms look pretty good. But as you take a closer look, you really start to see the signs of a pretty unhealthy tank. Yeah, even the anemone was doing all right. The clownfish was hosting it. It's pretty cool, but look at this coral right here. Massive regression. You were getting some cyanobacteria in there, and things were just dying. Coralline algae was starting to die. There's vermitid snails and Aptasia everywhere. So again, first glance, you look at this tank, the corals look good, the tank looks pretty, but as you really know what to look for, you can see regression. You can see, again, tons and tons of vermitid snails throughout this tank, which just absolutely drive me insane. I hate those things. Aptasia everywhere, and it's not just the big Aptasia. There's really small Aptasia that are growing all over the coral, which is causing them to get the coral to get stung. There's also a ton of hydroids in this tank too, which there's nothing really you can do about those. I really can't stand hydroids. A big Aptasia right there. And then you have these pesky starfish that are growing everywhere because the coral is starting to die and the tank's doing bad. Now, we did not set this tank up. This was a different company and nothing was quarantined. And when you don't quarantine, the tank will look good for a little bit, but long term, there you go. So the other side of the tank, you can see there's tons of diatoms in the sand, cyanobacteria. And here is the tank after we restarted it. And this was kind of, again, going through the ugly phase. We had to redo the rocks. We did all brand new sand, but this is just brown algae just all over the sand, all over the rock. This is about a good, I think, a couple of months or so after the restart. So we basically started with dry rock again, not live rock. We restarted the whole tank, made sure there's no Aptasia or anything like that in the aquarium. Everything that's going to go in this tank in the future is going to be quarantined so that we avoid the hydroids, the Aptasias, and all the things that were killing this tank before. But yeah, you can just see how bad this is. A mix of brown algae, greens algae, red algae, every single type of algae you could imagine was in this tank. And this was a battle. This is part of the process of trying to get a tank mature. The rocks need time to cure. The sand needs time to cure. The right microbiome needs to be established in the tank. And when you start with dry rock and when you quarantine everything, it takes a while for that to happen. So, you know that when you restart a tank, you know it's going to look ugly. You just try to communicate with the customer and make them aware that it's not going to look good for a while. So just picture this, see how the tank was, and then let's go ahead and so you get an idea of what we were dealing with and what we were fighting with this tank. When you start over, you go through the brown stages, the green stages, you go through all that. And that's understood, but for whatever reason, we cannot get the brown algae out of the sand. This has been a problem since the inception of this tank. So I'm going to show you what we've been doing to kind of help get rid of it. So I think we're in a pretty good position right now. The tank is looking much better. But before we go there, I want to show you some of the new additions that we got in just now. Some beautiful pyramid butterfly fish in. I love this butterfly fish. I love the bright gold. I love a little white triangle, hence the name pyramid butterfly. But that is one of my favorite fish, and cannot wait to quarantine this fish and put it in a really good home. We have multiples of those. We have one also in this tank. I mean, golly, that's a beautiful fish. Even under blue lights, heavy blue lights, that thing still pops. Third one down low here, and then we have, what is that, an Anthias down there, some bar gobies over to the side, 3 of those. Ooh, look at these little baby monos. Look at that. Wow, I haven't even really looked at this order yet, so I'm kind of learning as we go here, just like you guys are. We have some damsels in the backyard. Those are aquaculture damsels. More aquacultured fish here. We have neon gobies. And then with them, we have aquaculture lemon peel angels. These guys are adorable. One of my favorite wrasses, the Nokia wrasse. Is that how you say it, Nokia? I love this fish. This is probably in my top far as wrasse go, just because, I mean, look at that red with that yellow streak. Beautiful fish. Little damsel hiding in the back. Some yellow washburn goby. What else we got? Got some bang-eye cardinals. Some more damsel fish over here. Look at this little buddy right there. That's a cleaner wrasse. That's actually an aquacultured cleaner wrasse right there. Just a little guy. And I love the idea of aquaculturing them because they're much hardier than the wild species. And it just, a lot of cleaner wrasses don't do really good in tanks, but the aquacultures seem to do a lot better just because they're more tank resilient. And he's going through quarantine right now. A whole tank of striped blennies. Bunch of those. These guys are pretty popular. We sell these pretty good. A bunch of dove snails, and these snails are crazy because, like, unless they have a really deep sand bed, this is what they do. They act all crazy. But I highly recommend dove snails if you. It's a good snail that is a good scavenger, and it does a good job keeping the sand bed stirred up. Oh, I just noticed we have seahorses in this tank, but we just got also a pipefish, which looks just like a seahorse, huh? Look at that thing. That is crazy looking. I didn't even know that was here. Wow, look at him. Look at him go. I'm gonna feed him in a second and see what he does. I love aquacultured fish, and we just got a big order of it. There's tons of them here, and I'm a big fan of them just because they seem to be more tank resilient, and there's less chance of getting like a really bad fish disease. So quarantining them is pretty straightforward. But that's not why you guys came here to see. You guys came to see how to deal with brown algae. Let's go ahead and go to the customer's tank right now, and I'm gonna show you why I'm starting to feel optimistic about this tank. So wow, just wow, I am like really happy with the way this tank is coming along. So let me just show you something real quick. You see that brown algae that's in that corner? That used to be so thick. It took up that whole area right there. And there was tons of brown algae dusting through here, and couldn't get rid of it. Gravel vacuum is not gonna help a situation like this. That's not what you wanna do when you have brown algae on your sand, unless you have like a well-established aquarium and you can literally see like black pockets or like, deep, detritus in the sand. This is not that case. This sand is relatively new, right? It's not very established. You can just tell by looking at it, there's not a lot of critters, there's not a lot of life in the sand. Because of that, there's not enough, the right microbiome in here. The brown algae has become the algae that's been able to kind of take over and succeed, right? So it's I'm not a microbiologist, but it has a lot to do with just the right bacteria in your tank. And this kind of proves it for me. So you still have some browns right here, but this was all so much worse. And to me, and I can definitely see a difference. So there wasn't the right amount of live critters. There wasn't the right amount of, bacteria that was able to fight off this brown algae over here. So what I did was we made kind of a slurry of bacteria that we processed at Tanknicians and dosed it just one time. This was 2 weeks ago. Just one time we've dosed it. And we have seen a huge difference to the tank. The zoas look better. The sand looks so much better. The corals look so much healthier. I mean, Kenya-tree's insane. Even the anemones are starting to look better. But yeah, the brown is starting to go away. Again, this was completely covered in dark, rusty brown color, and it's going away. And we started dosing kalkwasser, raising the pH, and you can see the coralline algae is just going nuts in this tank. It's really starting to take off, and now we're starting to see a tank that's mature. Before, I put a couple of these SPS corals in here. I think this was a chalice or something, I'm not sure. And you can see they're dead. They died. These are samples, and this too was a sample, but check it out. See that orange right there? It's actually starting to grow back. And then this coral right here was almost completely dead, and it's starting to look really healthy now. And even the brown right here is gone way back, and it's simply just from dosing our bacteria slurry and a little bit of copepods in here too as well. But everything looks way better. I'm really happy with the way things are kind of coming along. Goniopora is still struggling. Gonna address that in a second. this Gynepore is doing much better. So I'm just really thrilled with the way things are going. And, you know, coralline algae on this side also growing like great. It's growing on the walls. We're starting to see a tank mature right before our very eyes. And I think now we definitely need to get more coral in here. Today, actually, though, I brought 2 Banggai cardinals to add to the collection of this tank, which has a Royal Grandma, a canary blenny, aquaculture canary blenny, a little clownfish under there, my buddy right there, the flame hawk, and there's a yellow, biota aquaculture yellow tang in here somewhere bouncing around. Also, last time I was here, I added this dove snail, which is kind of basically like a burrowing snail. So that's also helping keep the sand bed stirred up. Also, this snail does not feed on anything that would be beneficial to the sand bed. So it doesn't feed on bacteria, doesn't feed on the copepods and things like that. It's strictly eating decaying organic matter, like leftover food and like fish waste and stuff like that. So it doesn't eat the bacteria or the copepods directly. So it's a really good snail to have in your tank, and it's big. It's bigger than like an Aceras snail that burrows too, and it's keeping all this stirred up at the same time, which is nice. Kind of letting not letting those diatoms kind of settle too much. But all in all, I think this tank is looking freaking beautiful. Just added the Banggai cardinals right there. I think they're a great addition to this tank. We got some chromis here going. We got 4 chromis. I'd like to add some anthias eventually. Once we get the lid for it, I think we add some wrasse. But yeah, right now I'm thinking more coral, and then I'll probably wait another month and a half before I start trying to add SPS corals again. That was my goal. I want some sticks up here. I want that definitely for this tank. But I think I'm going to add a couple more corals. I think next we go to some more LPS. So I'm thinking some more hammer corals, maybe frog spawn. Acans I think would be awesome in this tank. So that's what I'm thinking about going to next. Maybe some encrusting corals like this little guy right there. Yeah, so this tank is coming along great. Let me know what you guys think about it. Very happy with the way things are going. And still a lot of work to do, but it's nice to get some wind. It's nice to kind of see the tank heading in the right direction.